Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Overweight Cyclist, where I ride an MTB and tell stories. Today, I'll narrate a story about a child and his grieving mother. I put a lot of effort into writing the stories. Please like and subscribe. Enjoy the read and the ride. Story Reflection. The room was dark and quiet. I was crying because my mom was crying. Tears ran down her face, and her shoulders shook as she sat on the bed. I reached out for her, but she didn't pick me up. I didn't understand why she was crying or why she wouldn't hold me while I was crying. I wasn't hungry or thirsty, and I certainly hadn't soiled my nappies. My cries weren't born of discomfort. They were a mirror to her sadness, a reflection of the heavy grief that seemed to have swallowed her whole. I tried to reach for her, my small hands opening and closing in a desperate bid for her attention. She didn't acknowledge. I was invisible to her. I couldn't feel her warmth, her touch that usually brought such comfort. It was as if I didn't exist. That evening, many people were in the house: my uncle, the lady next door, and others. Mom must have forgotten to feed me. But strangely, I wasn't hungry. I stopped crying because it wasn't working. My cries felt useless. Later that night, I watched as Mom cried with Dad. They held each other close, their bodies trembling with a shared grief. They never did this. They usually fought, their voices raised in anger and frustration. But today was different. There was a quiet between them that was more deafening than any argument. I still wasn't hungry, Mom. I still didn't need my nappies changed. An unfamiliar heaviness settled over me, pulling me towards sleep. The next day was the same. There were fewer people in the house, but the sadness remained. I lay still, my eyes wide open. I thought they had abandoned me, but why keep me in the house then? Then I started to understand. Something was different. There in the living room lay a small white coffin. It was surrounded by flowers, their fragrance mixing with the scent of candles and incense. My mother was beside it, her fingers tracing the outline of a tiny figure inside. The figure was familiar. I had obviously seen myself in the mirror. It was me. I was no longer hungry, and I didn't need my diaper changed. I was no longer alive. My mom's tears were for me. I finally understood. I wasn't hungry. I wasn't thirsty. I didn't need my nappies changed. I didn't need my mom anymore. I was dead. Hi, everyone. Welcome to The Overweight Cyclist, where I ride an MTB and tell stories. Today, I'll narrate a story about a family stuck in a doomsday bunker. I put a lot of effort into writing the stories. Please like and subscribe. Story Doomsday. It had been 323 days since the nuclear warfare started. Everything we knew, everyone who knew us, had been vaporized in the fire. The world as we knew it had turned to ashes. Me, my wife, and our beloved daughter had been stuck in this bunker for almost a year. Distant explosions still echoed, but the ferocity of the first bombs was now history, along with the future of the human race. The first bomb hit a few miles from us. It struck before the alarms could even sound. We were temporarily blinded and exposed to radiation, but were comparatively safer. At first, we thought it was a single hit, but when we heard about the retaliation, we knew it was time to head for the bunker I had kept as a survival hobby, stocked with food and water for doomsday. I also managed to store a few books and other survival tools, including knives, medicines, surgery kits, and guns. It was a well-kept bunker beneath what used to be our home, made of reinforced steel and concrete, ensuring our safety. It was well hidden, too, to keep out intruders. We thought the war would be over in a week, but we were kept awake by frequent explosions for months. Some of them were very close. After a few weeks, our rations started to run low. We resorted to rationing food and water. It just prolonged our destiny, and by the fifth month, the rations were almost gone. We were hungry, my wife more so. After a few days of this, she suggested going outside to scout for food and drinks. I knew it was a death sentence both ways, but staying inside gave us a few more days to live. The very day she suggested it, our daughter cut her finger on a rusty knife. Within hours, it started to get infected, probably due to the radiation she had been exposed to. My poor daughter. Though she was not in immense pain, her finger started rotting by nightfall. We had to cut it off. To our surprise, it didn't bleed or cause her further discomfort. If anything, she seemed relieved. By morning, a small lump of tissue had formed where the finger had been. By noon, it was already taking the shape of a finger. We were happy for her, but also for ourselves. Our daughter complains and cries a lot nowadays. She said she couldn't do it anymore. I understand her pain. It wasn't that she didn't feel pain when we cut off her healthy hands and legs to feed ourselves. But believe me, I tried to stop my wife. Not that I didn't want my daughter farming meat, chained to the walls. I tried to stop her in the fear of starving again because our daughter was growing smaller by the day. Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Overweight Cyclist, where I ride an MTB and tell stories. Today, I'll narrate a story about an adopted child and his foster parents. I put a lot of effort into writing the stories. Please like and subscribe. Story Trapped. I moved into my last foster home when I was 9. My mom and pop were murdered when I was just 3 years old, killed while resisting a home intrusion. Somehow, I survived by hiding in the closet and was later rescued by the police. I don't remember much about those years, but I do remember my mom, her scent, and the way she used to call me by my name, Ethan. It was a sunny September day when Mia and Liam brought me to their home. The house was big and warm, and for the first time, I had my own bedroom. They made every effort to make me feel comfortable and welcome. After years in foster homes, any improvement felt fragile, but I loved this place. The house was old, one that Mia and Liam had bought only 5 months before they considered adoption. On my first day at the house, Liam tried making small talk with me in the evenings, but my reluctance cut those conversations short. Mia bought me everything I might need for school and more: books, supplies, clothing, board games, puzzles, Legos, and even snacks. Liam promised to take me on a fishing trip next week. He must love fishing. As time went on, I started to feel more comfortable in the house. I made a few friends at school and even had them over for sleepovers. The basement became our hangout spot, equipped with a humble couch, a TV, and a PlayStation. Providing a sense of privacy, it had a trapdoor and a stairway for access. For the first time in my life, I could afford to take a few things for granted. I was well cared for, and it felt like a real home. Over a year later, Mia and Liam decided to go on a date, leaving me home alone for a few hours for the first time. As soon as they left, I headed straight to the basement, wired in, and started playing Call of Duty with my buddies. After a few rounds, I turned off the setup and the TV, planning to nap on the couch. When I woke up, the clock showed 9 p.m., and the TV was on, displaying a static background with the number 19 in the corner. There was no sound, just an eerie silence. I tried turning off the TV with the remote, but the batteries seemed dead. Frustrated, I got up and unplugged it from behind. Feeling a bit uneasy, I went upstairs to get some juice before returning to the basement. Mia and Liam still hadn't come back, so I decided to play a few more rounds. As I went to replug the TV, I noticed it was still on, showing the number 19 despite being unplugged. Chills ran down my spine, and I bolted towards the trapdoor. Just as I reached the stairs, the door slammed shut, startling me. I tried opening it, but it was as if it had turned to stone. Panic set in, and I began to tremble. I desperately tried to switch off the TV, even attempting to break it, but nothing worked. Suddenly, the TV turned off by itself, like it was alive and had its own mind. I tried running back to the trapdoor, hoping it was now open. It wasn't. I tried prying it open, kicking it, pushing it, but it didn't budge. The TV turned itself on again, this time with a static noise and the number 20.